Today, Xiao Ling discovered an abandoned motorcycle in the hills behind the village. Judging by its condition, it had been left there for a very long time. However, most of the parts were still intact, which gave her the idea of taking it back for repair. After checking the exterior and finding no major issues, Xiao Ling decided to push the motorcycle back. Since it was abandoned in the wilderness and clearly no one wanted it, taking it home for repair seemed like the best solution. Luckily, the motorcycle was parked close to the main road. Xiao Ling quickly pushed it onto the paved cement road, where moving it became much easier. Honestly, looking at the shape of the bike, it still looked quite good. After about half an hour of pushing, the motorcycle finally arrived at her workshop. Before any repairs, the bike needed a thorough wash with a high-pressure water gun. Once the mud was washed away, the motorcycle looked surprisingly new. Overall, the bike itself seemed well preserved. If the engine didn't need major repairs, it could be back on the road very soon. Because there was so much dirt, Xiao Ling spent over an hour cleaning it completely. Although the model was a bit old, the overall appearance and parts were well maintained. Do any of you recognize this model? How much do you think it would cost if bought brand new? After removing the surface dirt, a deeper cleaning was still needed. Xiao Ling wanted this long-forgotten motorcycle to make a proper comeback. Even though the motorcycle didn't originally belong to her, she treated it very carefully during repairs. She was worried about damaging any parts, as replacements for this type of bike are hard to find and expensive. While repairing the motorcycle, Xiao Ling remembered that her own bike had also been broken for quite some time. Since she now had parts available, she carefully checked the old components. If they could still be repaired and reused, replacing them wouldn't be necessary. After disassembly and inspection, the starter motor showed no major problems. Xiao Ling reinstalled it, and judging by the minimal wear, she couldn't understand why anyone would abandon such a bike. Fortunately, she found it in time, and it still had value after repair. After fixing the starter motor, she tried to start the bike, but it didn't fire up. She added a special fluid, opened the choke, and checked whether the engine oil had emulsified. Despite years of inactivity, the oil seemed fine, so she continued removing other parts for inspection. First, she removed the fuel tank. Next, she checked whether the throttle body was corroded. Surprisingly, it still looked very new with no visible carbon buildup. That meant the problem was likely deeper inside. After opening it further, she found serious sludge and rust inside. Xiao Ling carefully cleaned everything again. It was very likely that the throttle mechanism wasn't working properly, preventing air from entering the engine and causing the startup failure. Once the repairs were completed, everything was reassembled. The throttle opened smoothly, the fuel line was reconnected, and it was time to test the ignition again. This time, the motorcycle started instantly. All the gauges worked normally, and the engine ran smoothly. At that point, there were clearly no major issues left. Finally, Xiao Mei took the motorcycle out for a test ride. To her surprise, so what do you think of this motorcycle restoration? Please leave your score for his work in the comments below.